Thanks for downloading Pave the Way Podcast. On this show, your host, Greg Helbeck, interviews the top minds in real estate, business, and personal development to help you crack the code so you can grow your business and, more importantly, grow your life. Get ready for another game-changing episode. If you want to learn how to master your day and become a productivity monster, download Greg's free guide on daily personal productivity for free at www.pavetheday.com. That's Pave the Day, spelled DAY.com. Now it's time for today's episode. Enjoy.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I'm here with my good friend John Medina from John Medina Buys Houses. Look at that name. Who is that guy? And I got John on the show. He's been a good friend of mine for the last couple of years. We're in a couple masterminds together. We have a lot of the same mutual friends. He actually doesn't live too far away from San Diego. He's about an hour and a half north. So he's up in, I believe you're in San Pedro, which is kind of in LA, right? That's sort of in the LA area.
In the harbor.
Yeah, in the harbor, exactly. So John's got a very impressive business. He's doing a great volume for a very competitive market in the Los Angeles area. So we're going to get into his business in a minute. But before we get into his business, John, can you just tell our listeners a little bit about your professional background and kind of what you did before you got into real estate?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Greg. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
I consider you a friend too. So this is great. So, so before I got into real estate, I was a plumbing contractor. So I was a plumbing contractor for about, I'd say close to like over 20 years. And then I basically wanted to start buying rental properties here in Los Angeles, right? I had a little bit of money I wanted to invest in. The market was down. So I figured, hey, real estate's a good vehicle to, try some investments. Well, but I just didn't want to do it like in a retail way. I wanted to see, like, at X amount of dollars, how many properties can I buy with the money that I have? Right?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to leverage myself, so to speak. So I started just kind of doing my research and went to a weekend seminar, in 2009 and kind of learned a little bit about everything. And then about 2012, I finally decided, hey, I need to do something, because 3 years of studying is just, I was scared, fearful, like most people.
Yeah.
So I met a local guy here. His name was Bruce Norris, and he had a boot camp, and I went to his boot camp, and I took it once, and I figured, okay, now I'm really dangerous, but then I still feel fearful. I didn't know what to do, so I figured I better go back for a second time.
Round two.
And really get, just because I thought there was this more magic out there that I needed to know. And at the end of the day, you know what? I think it was around this time, July of 2012. I said, I just got to go for it. And I basically started buying short sales that I was going to keep for rentals. And then, this is now 12 and then into 13. And 13, I started thinking, wow, I could sell these things and make money. And I was kind of tired of plumbing. I did it since I was 19, it was like my kind of like right out of high school.
Yeah.
I was like, man, maybe I could like make a living doing flipping houses. And so, yeah, I just kind of like in 2013, I told my wife, I think I'm going to switch businesses. And she's like, hey, you've been successful at this. I'm sure you could do good at that. So I just kind of made a decision like 2014, let's go full time. And here I am.
So you're a plumbing contractor. It's very interesting. That is, it's like a sub niche within the real estate like umbrella. Like obviously plumbing is a major component of all the rehabs that I do. So were you just basically subbing out large plumbing jobs? So like, let's say there's a development going on in, I don't know, Garden City or wherever you are up there, and like Garden Grove, sorry. Like you would have, you would basically like have like the plumbing contract for like the 5-unit subdivision, or were you doing like more house calls? Like how did that work?
Yeah. Well, I started out doing house calls. Actually, I started out basically when I got into plumbing, I wanted to do new construction. So I worked on like apartments and condos and houses and then even got into hospitals and stuff. I worked for 2 companies, right? So I did a little bit of that. So a little bit well-rounded. Then I just decided, like I did with the real estate story, I just decided I'm going to go on my own. And like when I was 24. So I kind of had to get some jobs from, my grandma's friends around town here. Yeah. And I just had to do some fix-it work that I didn't like, right? So as I progressed on, I eventually ended up doing like commercial plumbing in bigger, like LMU, like, which is a university. Tom's Shoes. I did some bigger warehouses, and I had some good warehouse accounts. And I was basically just like working for contractors, right? So that's kind of, but I knew the whole scope of construction because I had to put the plumbing in at a certain time. So I had to know how the framing worked. I had to know how the HVAC guy worked, how the electrical worked. I had to work with all these guys within a building like within a system, right? So it gave me a lot of knowledge in in rehab, because it was basically, it was almost, it's interesting. It was really easy to like, back then I didn't have to market or do anything, right? It was short sales through agents. So I'd get a project, I would be off and running. I'd start working myself, and I had a group of guys, bring my plumbers in, or guys that I knew from the jobs. They would work for cash or whatever was going on. And I was able to kind of build up a little crew from just guys that I knew. So that was the easy part, right? So that's when you could that's when the MLS was really a good place to get deals back then.
Yeah, that especially in Southern California. I mean, you guys got decimated out there with the 2008, 9, 10 shenanigans and San Diego, Phoenix. So you jump into the rehab business, in the beginning. Now, I want to fast forward up to what you guys are doing today, because I have personally been able to see the evolution of you and Ricky. And before we get into that, actually, how did you meet Ricky? Because Ricky and I are tight. We're not too far apart in age, and I've known Ricky for a while. How did you and Ricky, wasn't it something, didn't you like see him somewhere randomly at a house, or it's like, I kind of vividly remember it, but how did you, because Ricky's an all-star.
Yeah, it's funny. So I was looking at my window here. I mean, 9th Street, I'm in our town. I was driving up 9th Street one day and I saw this sign. It said, open house, a Saturday. I worked on a Saturday. It's about 4:00, open house, Ricky Magana. And I recognized Ricky's name from town. Ricky owns a gym too, so he writes a column in our local newspaper that comes out once a month. So I said, let's go to open house. Hey, I'm on my way home. Pull over and just met Ricky. We hit it off, and I just told him, hey, and it was a fixer-upper, believe it or not. So we just kind of made a relationship from there, and we just started kind of like, just kind of built, like the original relationship we had is like, he's like, hey, I want to learn this, which was smart on his behalf. He's like, I don't mind working for you for free, just to learn. And I says, well, I don't want you to work for free. So when I rehab a house, I'll give you the listing. So not working for free, you're just going to get a listing from me. Like my buddies would do it for 2%, right? And I pissed off a couple of my good friends because they're realtors. But I'm like, hey, this guy's going to work. Basically, he's not working for free. He's working for the listing. That's how we used to say it, right? So and then it worked out. It was working out pretty good. And then I think about after 6 months, I decided, hey, I need to scale this, kind of sales and marketing company, not really a rehab company. So it brought Ricky on, and then we took off from there in like March of 2017. Yeah,
you guys are cranking for sure. So let's get into your business from a 30,000 foot view, because a lot of the listeners who are listening, I don't know if they're in LA or San Diego, wherever, Southern Cal, but doing business in California is similar to like a New York area where I operated in, where it's very expensive. And the generally what I see is the types of sellers that you're dealing with are a little bit more aware of where their property is. And because of that, it tends to be a little bit different of a conversation, and it's just a higher dollar value area. So it usually results in more of a lower volume, even though it's great volume, higher margin business. So just kind of give us a little snapshot of what you guys got going on, because you guys have built something great in probably the toughest market in the country, honestly, LA. Yeah,
I mean, you're in San Diego right now. It's there too. It's California and New York in general, right? And there's a couple places in between. So, what I think this was working for us is just basically like, from all the kind of, like you said, masterminds and the coaching I have, it's like we got everything down to a system. So we're really systemizing, and we're really working that system, right? So, and we even did some coaching with you before, like on the sales process, right? So, what's really improved for us is that we have a Peggy's her name. She answers the phone. She's really good at working the sales process. So we're doing really good on the sales process as far as getting everything from the customer. But what's good is now we have a couple different options that we're offering, right? So we really go for the cash offer right from the beginning. And that's what we're really stressing. And we're doing everything we can to give them the best cash offer. But like you mentioned, a lot of people are aware that their properties are worth a lot more. And some of them, they don't even qualify for a cash offer because they're, we like to call them retail. Yeah. Not even a hotel. They're just move right in, So the people that we find that really want the most money, and after we exhaust the kind of the process of the cash offer route, and we just know they're not a good fit, we take them to what we call the 30-day top dollar program. Right. And then that's basically, Ricky's a realtor. And then what we do, we go into like listing their house, and it could be $1 million house, and we're still getting a pretty good fee out of that. Right. So I think that's the game changer right there, because, I think out of I think on the board there's like maybe 22 deals for, signed up or already, for this year, so to speak. I think 25% of those have been like listings that we were able to that we would have just, said goodbye to before. There was no monetary value on that because we weren't pushing it hard enough. And Peggy got really good at like talking to these people and identifying when to stop talking about, because you got to know when to stop talking about the cash offer, because they don't want it's done. A man came in to sign some paperwork. He's 88, so no DocuSign with this guy, right? But right away, he came in and talked to us. And I'm not involved with the sales process. And Ricky and Peggy handle that, and they do a great job. But this man's name was Juan, and he just wanted the top dollar program. So I kind of gave him a soft cash offer to run the numbers with him. And then he wanted the top dollar program. So we just served it up to him, and I don't know, it's probably a $560,000 property at 2.5%. So do the math. It's like a wholesale fee somewhere else, So, but that's how we've been able to kind of realize, like, and then what that does is you get your cash flow, and it makes it fun when you get deals, right? So now we're having fun. We're not reporting on our zeros all the time, which we don't have any sales. It sucks. So I've been there for a long time, right? We've both been there. It's like you're working your ass off, and you don't have any sales, and you don't have any income. It's just it's not fun, So that's kind of one of the game changers that's been for us, is like just having a couple more options to offer people, because owner financing out here, I don't know, I've never been able to get it.
I did it once. It was a doozy. I did it in San Diego. It's kind of a wash. I mean, this was a cheaper property. It was a piece of land actually, but yeah, owner financing in LA is tricky, just to make the numbers work. So you got that's very smart too with the California, because like you just mentioned something briefly, like a commission in Southern Cal or in Miami or in Long Island, New York, whatever, that's like a wholesale fee. Like you make 2% on $1 million, that's 20 grand. You know what I mean? So that's big money. That's more than most wholesalers make in the Midwest. So money is money. Last time I checked, Chase Bank doesn't say, oh, commission, we're not going to deposit this. Nope, we only deposit assignment fees. It's like, no, it's money, so, and it allows you guys, like you said, to keep stacking those wins. So when you get the investor deal where you get under contract, you can obviously make the most money on those. And then also, just keep the flow of cash coming in from the transaction. So before we actually started this recording here, you mentioned that you guys do some creative stuff where you have a wholesale company and then you also have a rehab company. So on the percentage of your deals, I know every deal if you rehab it, you're wholesale to yourself. How many deals are you just straight up wholesaling versus how many are you going to just rehab in the rehab division? Because in your area, you can still wholesale and make, 50 grand, and it's really not that it's pretty common, honestly, to do that. I just did one the other, a couple weeks ago in San Diego. It's an assignment. Huge. Yeah.
Well, that's great point. What we do is we basically have Rick and I have two companies, and I have a construction company that I own with my wife, right? So, but it all starts with the sales, and John Medina buys houses, sales and marketing company, right? Everything runs through there, all of our expenses, marketing, and everything, right? So we're pointing everything to that. Then from there, we get the contract, and then we put it out to buyers. And let's just say you want to pay, we get it for $500 and you want to pay $600. We'll gladly sell it to you for that much, right? Let's just say that and that happens sometimes, but not that often. But it does happen. There's some home runs out there.
Yeah.
But what happens is when it comes in at $500, we put it out there for people to shop it, so to speak. Let's just say you want it, Greg, at $520, right? So I can sell it to you for $520 and be done with it. Or our other company, Upfront Home Buyers, has the opportunity, first right of refusal, we basically say, hey, if Upfront Home Buyers wants to buy that property and flip it, they have to pay $520 for that. So that's where we kind of establish a wholesale fee, or 30 or 40, whatever that is, right? And then what that does is that pays money back to the John Medina buys houses, sales and marketing company. So we have cash flow and we keep going. And that's what we bonus our sales girl on. That's the fee. So we're keeping it real with her. If we generally have 1 or 2 rehabs going on at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So kind of on that too, if there's something that we really want to do, we make sure we buy it ourselves. If it's kind of marginal, somebody else. Depends on the workload. So, I think we probably had about like 10 flips this year, somewhere around that so far. I think this year what we've done or something in that neighborhood. And then maybe so it's almost like, I think we probably 50% we keep for ourselves. Or at least that's where we're headed, in that direction, right? So that kind of, because before we kept everything in one company, I pretty much flipped everything, and we had cash flow issues. You get these big chunks of money that you get the money, it's always broke because your money's
famine. Yeah, it's a very windy road. Yeah.
Yeah, so the commissions fill the gap of the cash flow.
Yeah.
The commissions come in, and you're never going to, that doesn't go to the other company, right? So it's kind of, then I have a construction company that I run everything for all the rehabs out of. My wife's the designer, so she does all the design. She's sitting here. She was here earlier with a little fan out, picking all the colors, right? And then I kind of just manage the construction guys. So I have full-time guys that work for me in the construction company.
Okay.
Then we create an invoice and bill it back to the other company.
To the construct. Yeah, that's very smart. You guys are I like how you have that system going on, and especially with in the California area. When you have it, I've just noticed, I've done a handful of properties out here. The thing with California that I've noticed is that when you have a deal, and I'm talking like a real deal, you're going to make a lot of money on it. It's not like I don't see a lot of $5,000 to $10,000 assignments in Southern California, because if the seller, at least from my experience, they're going to sell to you at a reasonable price. Because it's so expensive, the dollar amount allows for these 6-figure assignments sometimes, because if you're getting a house for $450, ARV is $750, you can make $100,000 and the rehab are still going to make money, or, hopefully make money. And it's just that competitive to where people know that if it's off market, that is a scarce product there for them. Like you go on the MLS now, it's like stuff selling in 3 seconds, $40,000 over ask. So it's smart how you guys have systematized that business to where it flows really well now. So on the rehab side, question for you, what are some of the biggest, because I have a lot of rehabbers who listen to the show, what are some big lessons that you have learned in your career of renovating properties, that maybe like a couple pointers on the rehab side, maybe some mistakes you've made or just lessons you've learned on the positive that allow you to rehab a house basically without spending more money than you need to, but at the same time, not spending less money than you should have, because then you have like this quagmire property where it's like kind of weirdly rehabbed. And I've made that mistake a few times,
Honestly, that's probably the hardest thing, right? Because, I think in a really tight market, we're not in that right now. But right now, it's like in a really tight market, if your budget's off, and they're always off, let's face it.
They're always off.
Budget, always. Right? Always off, right? My thing is that you got to stay on the schedule. You got to keep lining people up. You got to have, and for me, quality is really important. So I don't do crappy work. Because crappy works get you a lower price. And then you have problems down the road. You're gonna get sued probably by taking shortcuts, right? Yeah. So and in the market we're in right now, our budgets are always over, but we're getting rewarded because people are paying more for the house. So this is probably the easiest market to rehab in if you buy it right. So you're setting the ARV. Let's just say you set the ARV at 700. It sells for 750.
Yeah, literally.
You're getting rewarded by dumb luck. I'm not a genius here. I'm not pretending to be like I got the magic potion. You're getting anybody, Jerry Green said this the other day when I was with him. He's like, like anybody can make money in this market. And it's true because, we had a house and we put the ARV at 890, we got 960. But I put way more money into it. Well, I had to put a lot more, I doubled the rehab budget, but I knew I would get it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like you create a budget, but it's really hard to stay on, and especially material costs are going through the roof.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
It's harder to get workers right now, so guys are raising their prices. It's just my thing is like just stay on time and be start on time and try to end on time. So everything I try to do is within like a 6-week period. I really want to get it out in 6 weeks, no matter what. Yeah. Start to finish, and then put it on the market, and then have that cycle about 3 months if you can or less. Yeah. 4 months if you have to, God forbid it's 4 months. Not right now, it hasn't been, but you got to get the jobs done, and you got to get in and you got to get out, right? And then try to do your best to stay on budget and then stay on top of people.
Yeah,
totally. And the advantage I have is I'm writing, guys are on my payroll, right? So I still have that plumbing company set up to where I could use it as a construction company. So I'm writing, guys are getting paychecks. So there's pros and cons of that. Some guys are like, oh, I would never have that. They don't understand. I understand how it works. That's what I'm comfortable with. So I do it that way. A guy like you might go, oh, I just want to deal with a contractor, right? Well, you're dealing with a contractor, Greg, and all of a sudden, these guys want checks all the time.
Oh yeah.
If you're not there to manage and see that the job's, the job's being completed, one mistake is you're going to be writing checks for work was never completed.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
There are a dime a dozen of these guys that want to, that want to get paid, right? It's like, I had a job in Lancaster, it's pretty far away, so my guy that works for me got a demo guy and he wanted $2,500 cash to remove all this trash. So this is a funny story. So it's like, Jorge, the guy that works for me, is like, okay, it's $2,500. I go, I can't come see you and give you $2,500 cash. He goes, no problem. he's got the money. He went to his bank account and got the cash. But anyways, the contractor, the cleanup guy's going, well, give me all the money up front, and then because I needed to pay the workers. And he's like,
oh.
No, we'll pay you by the load. Every time that you remove a load,
we'll disperse
loads, and we'll give you $500. But if you don't know, you're going to give the guy the money.
He's going to run away.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest mistakes people make in rehab is they pay.
Oh, totally.
They pay for services not rendered, so to speak.
And the contractors, they don't give a flying what about you. They're just in it for themselves, And,
once everybody's gone too, you don't get it back.
No, especially cash. It's untraceable. It's done. In LA, I mean, in the New York area, when you rehab, there's a lot of hair with the building departments and the bureaucracies. Is that a big deal in California with permits and this, or is that really you can get away more with that? Because I think California would be similar to New York, just based on living in both places.
You're hitting me in the heart with all this stuff. Yeah, 100%. It's like it's funny because certain things you can get away with.
Yeah, for sure.
I just got in trouble last project, so now I'm back to like, okay, get a permit before you start.
Is it Is it a pain in the butt? Is it very bureaucratic there? Because in Long Island, for example, like not too far from where I grew up, there's like 18 villages in one town, and like some villages, you got to know like the submarkets of the submarkets of the, like I feel like in California it's probably similar. Like they got the building departments cruising around, they're looking in the windows, being like, "What the hell's going on here?" They red tag you, and then you're just done.
Exactly, it's the same.
It's the same. Yeah.
That was one good thing about COVID is that like I got away with a lot of stuff that you probably would have had to get a permit for.
Yep.
It wasn't really working, so it was like you couldn't go get a permit.
Yep.
And then you're right. Every city is different, and I can't keep track with it. It's the same thing Greg, it's the same thing when I did plumbing. They were all. It's the same stuff I'm dealing with when I did plumbing. Every little city was different.
Exactly.
You got LA City that's actually one way, right? It's like covers a pretty large area around here. But if you go to Rancho Palos Verdes, they're different than them. You go to Lomita, they're different. You go to Carson, they're different. So what I did yesterday is I went to this little city of Duarte that I have a project I'm starting. I said, I haven't done this in a while. What do I need to do before I get started? So they gave me all the paperwork. So I'm going to go there tomorrow with my guy to get the permit. But usually I just start and then I get in trouble. So I didn't even want to start because I knew I was probably going to get in trouble.
Totally. Yeah, there's nothing worse than getting right. I've found too, like a little rehabbing hack. I only like my contractors to do roofs on Saturdays because the building department is not working on Saturdays. So I'm always like, hey, dude, if you're going to do the roof, if you're going to do any sort of clean out for the most part, unless it's in the middle of the woods, do it on the weekend, because if we get red tagged, it's going to suck. You're not going to get paid. Well, you can't do the work to eventually get paid. I'm pissed off. So do all the stuff that's obvious on the weekends. And once that's done, go inside and start the construction, because it's a
game. And I tell people park around the corner. It's easier.
Yeah, that's so true.
I just rather this job, I'm just getting the permit because it's easier. And after I got busted last time, it wasn't worth it. But funny joke is that Jorge calls me in the morning or calls me in the afternoon. If the phone rings like right now or mid afternoon, the phone rings like in the middle of the day, morning, like after. If it doesn't ring at 8, it doesn't ring at like 4:30. Anytime between he calls me, there's a problem. And I'm always thinking it's the building department. And it's generally I'm right, because we don't need to. We talk in the morning or the afternoon. Sometimes we don't talk for 3 days. We just text. He knows what to do. There's a schedule. So exactly. Anyways, it's funny. Yeah. So that's a nightmare. But you know what? It's the cost of doing business, and it is what it is.
Exactly. There's no getting around it. You can't beat the government. You know what I mean? You might as well just comply with them and make sure they're reasonable. So that's awesome, man. So let's walk through as we start to wrap the show up here. What's in, because a lot of people, they get very, scared to get involved in an expensive market, and they think they got to go virtual and all this and all that, which could be a valid option. But what is a recent deal that you could walk the listeners through where like maybe you share, what the numbers look like? Because the thing in California is like, if you're living in the Bay Area, you're living in Orange County, like if you put the effort in and you commit to the business, you can make big checks out here because it's just a high dollar amount. So you have like a specific property you could just share from a high level that the listeners can kind of like put some context on.
Yeah. I mean, like for us, it's like, we do a little bit as far as marketing. It all starts with the marketing, right?
Yeah.
So we do a little postcards, but we're big on SEO. Like we're all, I think I told you that before, we're just kind of all in on the SEO thing. and we had some really good rankings. I think we changed our website a little bit and went down, but you know, like last October, we had someone call and I mean, this is an extreme. This is like,
I want to hear it. I love it. This is an extreme.
I'll give you the best deal ever, right? I mean, the lady called, she called on a Saturday. We answered the phone. That's my biggest joke. We answered the phone. How many people don't answer the phone on Saturday, right? Well, Peggy answered the phone. Within an hour, she called me, you know, I'm getting ready. Ricky wasn't around. Ricky was on another appointment. So anyways, you know, she's got this hot property in Carson, which is, half hour away, not even that far. So I was getting ready to do something else. So I go, okay, I literally brushing my teeth. I'm going, okay, I'll go. I got to go meet this guy. I met him. Worked a deal, came back to the office, DocuSigned it. I think, you know, we got under contract for like 310, right? You know, that's what they wanted. We did more, you know. Well, then we did the wholesale thing with our vendors, our wholesale guys. Someone's going to pay us like $420 for that thing. Yeah.
Wow.
This is like everybody listening. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. But I'm just saying, this is what happens when you got to throw your hat in the ring. There's a lot of $5,000 deals, $10,000 deals, right? But you're getting those deals to get to the bigger ones. So yeah, that was like a pretty big wholesale fee right there, right? It was like like $100 and something thousand wholesale fee, which was crazy, right? And I had something else happen like that before years ago, where that's the second highest wholesale fee. I had another one for like maybe 130 that I got lucky on. Like, you know, somebody called, they didn't want the property. I answered the phone.
Shocking.
Made a deal with them, right? And it made some money. But, you know, then we moved it to the rehab. Well, the market's going up like crazy. I thought this house was probably worth like maybe 525 or something. But, you know, the house was worth, I don't know. Bottom line is I think we made another $100,000 on the rehab. Just because.
You wholesale it to yourself.
We wholesaled to ourselves and made $110,000. And then we fixed it up and flipped it and made like another $100,000 on top of that. So it was I think it was like 225 or something. It was insane. But don't, you know how it is. Like, I'm not bragging. I actually don't like talking about it because I feel like I'm going to go to hell for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. But the reason I want to show people that it is possible. You know what I mean? Like, John has plenty of deals where he's probably not sleeping at night, and including, you know, deals that I do. So the reason is, like, I want the listeners to see that that's possible. But like you said, you got to put your hat in the ring. You got to be in the game. You got to be committed to the game. You got to be committed to marketing. And when you do that, you know, you hit a home run sometimes, and it makes it all worth it, you know, and then including base hits.
It makes it worth it for like the last two deals I'm doing right now. Just to, like this is technical. We have one deal in LA, Silver Lake. We bought the property. It's an old neighborhood. So the neighbor's sewer is on our property. We found it. We had to do a repair to the sewer. That's a nightmare, dealing with the sewer. Yeah. So I don't even want to get into the logistics of that. And then we have another one in Garden Grove where the home inspector found asbestos that I have to spend money to get the asbestos removed, right? So it's like you get really, like, the last two have been, we're over them now. We came to the solution and we're moving forward. We're going to close on them. But the last two have been hell. I mean, dealing with asbestos and dealing with the city with the neighbor sewer, that's like a horror story. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what keeps you up at night, because you don't know how to navigate that stuff. It's just, you know, when they find asbestos, it's like you're at there in California, you're at the state's disposal of what you need to do, literally, right? And even when you find that, how about the neighbor sewer line? Your neighbor, all of a sudden, his sewer line's on your property, and that's not supposed to happen. The neighbor doesn't want to move a sewer line over, so now you're trying to negotiate with them, and it's all worked out. But at the end of the day, it's like you know, that's what I'm saying. You throw your hat in the ring, you don't know what's going to happen, right? So you know, sometimes you get some ones that are really good, and then sometimes you get some ones that are a little harder. And then there's some deals that, you know, I've lost money on deals before. Yeah, it's the way it goes, right? It's just like what you're trying to do. You know, because you're sometimes you do a deal that's a little slim, but you think you can pull it off, and then the market can correct a little bit down. That's not happening now, but then so that's the other side of it too, right? I mean, it's I don't want everybody to think like, wow, he just went out and made this money on one property, and then it's just that easy. No, you're going to go through. There's a lot of shit that it took to get to that. You know, as you know, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that's just the highlight. That's just like the event, you know, that led the process of building a brand in the area and investing in SEO, investing in marketing. That process and that grind gets you results, you know, over time, right? It's not like you just, I'm going to be a real estate investor. I'm going to go rank on Google in 2 weeks and get a crazy lay down deal. Like it's the process. And obviously you and Ricky are committed to mastering your craft and mastering the process. And that's why you guys are as successful as you guys are. So John, this is a lot of fun, man. If people wanted to connect with you, maybe they're another investor in LA, they want to maybe wholesale you houses or JV or whatever, like what's the best way for them to find you and reach out if they're interested?
Yeah, they could, you could email. It's probably the best thing to just go to Peggy. Her email is help@johnmedinabuysHouses.com. Right?
Okay.
We have a website, johnmedinabuysHouses.com. You can go on there too. But it's probably better just to email Peggy at, like I said, help@johnmedinabuysHouses.com. Or you can give her a call at 310-928-9688. And she always answers the phone. And then you can just say, hey, I saw John on a pod. Whatever you tell her, she'll get it to me.
That's awesome. Well, listen, we'll make sure my assistant will be listening to this. She'll put all this in the show notes, and I'm sure some people will be reaching out. You can work with some other people local to your area. John, thanks so much for being a guest on my show. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Pave the Way Podcast. We hope you got value from today's episode. Make sure you download Greg's free guide on daily personal productivity for free at www.pavetheday.com. That's Pave the Day spelled DAY.com. If you have any questions or want to reach out, head over to www.pavethewaypodcast.com. We'll see you on the next episode.